Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to talk about how avoidants miss the person that they took for granted and how this process starts. I'm going to try and make this video structured, but I feel like there's so many different variables. It might be a little bit hard, but I'm going to try, okay? Um, Usually, how this starts, the process of being taken for granted, from what I see, is it's gradual, it's not sudden. That's the first thing that I notice in these relationships, okay? So initially, the avoidance, attention, and the non avoidance consistency feels very warm and loving, and it creates a relationship, typically, okay? Can happen where the avoidance starts stepping back. Most of the time, it does. And it has nothing to do with the person, okay? They just are more in their actual self, right? In the beginning, they're kind of faking it, not for you. I made a short on this. It's because they feel like that's who they're supposed to be. They're just ashamed of themselves. So they were hiding themselves because they're ashamed. But now they put their walls down and they're their real self, which is a little bit more detached, okay? And then what happens is the emotion and connection that they had for you, the boundaries start to blur because now you're over functioning a little bit to pick up their slack, which happens. And then what happens is they start seeing that they need to step up to some extent. And they feel like if they do that, these qualities that you're showing, the loving and warm, and they give that back, that shows them, they feel like it's weakness. And so it causes him or her to start giving less to you because they feel like if I step up, I'm going to be weak. I shouldn't show emotions. And this imbalance causes him or her, to stop appreciating their particular partner in general. And I'm going to explain that. Because what happens is they stop appreciating the romantic connection, the emotion, right? They do this with everything, okay? It's not you. It's hard for them to see that emotions are supposed to be something consistent within their life. They're taught that you're actually supposed to consistently suppress it. So as the emotions are consistent, they will stop appreciating that particular trait. Now, this does not mean that you have to back up. That's not what I'm saying. I'm going to tell you what to do in a little bit, but you need to understand where this shift comes from, okay? And so what ends up happening is, which is the more healthy thing, is you might start adding other parts of their life, adding to other parts of their life. You don't want to be just somebody who is just consistent and warm. You want to be that as well, but you also add other things. I say this on my channel all the time. You want to add connection in other ways, such as talking about, I don't know, the political climate, finances, whatever you guys talk about. I don't care. Your hobbies, whatever it is, add some sort of intellectual communication, which helps them to say, okay, I don't want to take this for granted because this is more tangible to them. This adds to my life. That's basically the way it works. But let's just talk about how the taking for granted process happens. So let's say that didn't happen. You never added anything but emotional, which is okay. But that's hard for them to correlate. So they end up taking you for granted because you're just something that's emotional to them, right? Really blunt words. Sorry, busy day, just trying to get this information out there. So basically, the avoidant starts realizing that they pulled away and maybe you broke up with them, whatever this case is, or they broke up with you, something happened, right? And now they realize they miss those traits because they don't respect those traits necessarily in themselves. They don't realize that that's a healthy evaluation for somebody to be with in a relationship. But when it's gone, they realize, wait, that did make me feel comfortable. That did make me feel good. And so they experience this internal struggle, okay? And what happens is these emotions that this avoidant has it may urge them to reach out, but they might not because they feel like they don't want to show vulnerability. And so the memories of you as a comforting and connecting person does begin to surface. And so this person might start testing the waters through like casual text, social media, or talking about you with their friends to see if you have interest so that maybe you can initiate because they don't want to initiate because it shows vulnerability. So they're trying to get you to initiate. And I made a video on that, like how they want you to reach out, really common. Basically, this avoidant person that we're kind of using as an example, they miss you. They realize that your emotional connection was valuable to them, but it was too late for them to realize. And so now they're trying to get you to initiate so they don't have to admit, hey, I do like emotions, basically, right? But what ends up happening is if you don't reach out, which you don't have to, they may either try and battle it away and suppress that emotion and feeling, and then maybe they will resurface like years later. But the relationship in of itself is largely over, and so it may help to reach out. You don't have to. But another way to do this is you can also invite them without actually reaching out. If you don't want to initiate fully, you can have conversations with them and you can say, I miss that. I wish that we could get back together, whatever it is. And then it may help them to feel more comfortable to initiate. Okay. But basically, what happens is they take you for granted because, in summary, they don't realize that relationships or emotions are valuable for their lifestyle, their life. And so they took that for granted, not you. But if that's all you were, it's easier for them to take you for granted. And so that's kind of the angle we're going to go into later in the video. But basically, one trait that can really help them to not take you for granted, even well, not it's not take you for granted, but basically it'll help them to initiate and drive them to initiate because the pain is very painful. If you're a person who is really open to love, just a little bit of a side note, and you were comfortable initiating most of the time and you expressed yourself, openly without shame, a lot of avoidants actually regret losing this person because you have the characteristics that they subconsciously desire in themselves. That's basically what it is. They took for granted the parts of themselves they wish they had, and you have all of them. And if you were a person who tended to initiate, obviously they know that you're not initiating because you're playing games. It's probably because you're very hurt, and they feel very hurt about that, which is that part particularly helps them to initiate towards the end of the relationship, to maybe reignite it because you were always a person who was open, so they know it's not like a malicious reason. Okay, so basically you'll see these traits, and when they start missing you, you're going to see them continuously try to reach out or talk about you or bring something up. So that's how that happens. They start to take you for granted because you just have only those emotional traits. But how do we prevent that? So how to prevent that is you maintain interdependence within the relationship. That's one way, okay? That means you have some hobbies and activities together, and you have some hobbies and activities that are separate, okay? The next one is you communicate regularly from both sides to see if there's any needs that needs readjusting. I'm going to give you an example because I know that's confusing, okay? Let's say, for example, you guys have this thing where, let's say we have an avoidant male, okay? Let's say he's dismissive avoidant and you're an anxious, preoccupied female. Maybe he goes out with his buddies and he plays cards or he shoots pool, okay? That's what he likes to do. And he does that late. Late, he comes home at 2 a.m. And maybe you guys don't live together, okay? But that bothers you because you want to make sure that he came home safe, because let's say he does it on a Saturday, and Saturday late hours is dangerous. And so you want to know, did he come home safe? So now your thing is, between you guys, is he texts you when he comes home. That's your thing, okay? But this might be suffocating maybe as the time goes on in the relationship. Maybe at first he was okay with it. Maybe now he's not and he doesn't even realize it, okay? So in order to check, you readjust. You can say something like, thank you for always texting me when you come home late. I wanted to ask you if this feels suffocating or demanding. I appreciate it a lot, but I want to check on your side. Most of the time, I want to say like 7 out of 10 times, this person is going to say, no, it's fine. But they will also say this, thank you so much for acknowledging that. Now it's tangible, okay? It's not just emotional. Remember, we had mentioned the main reason an avoidant takes you for granted is that emotional, if you're just an emotional embodiment. However, if you're logical with these emotions, just like we were saying, you're just readjusting, you're just checking. It's very logical, it's very logistics, it's almost business-like. Now they don't take you for granted. It's easier, it's palatable for them. So now they say, I appreciate that. Immediately, they're going to be happy that you said that, but they already are more easily able to integrate you because you said it in a logical way, okay? You were still emotional, but you said it in a logical way. It helps them to not take you for granted. The next one is you acknowledge your own mistakes. Last night we had a fight and I'm really sorry. I crashed out and I overreacted. I apologize. I hope you can forgive me, okay? That one is really important. But the last one is what I notice pretty much. I feel like a lot of you guys do not do this, and I want you guys to do this more if you can. Not telling you what to do, but it'll help. You need to also acknowledge, or I feel like it's better for you to acknowledge what you do, okay? This is a logical statement, okay? I'm not saying beg. I'm not saying tell them, this is what I do, you never do this. That's not what I'm saying. You can say this. I've been working really hard to change my emotional reactivity. And I want to ask you, do you notice a difference? I want to be acknowledged. I feel like I've done really well. If you can mention that, now it's palatable. Now it's tangible. Now it's logical, but it's still emotional, okay? So basically, the basic formula is an avoidant tends to take someone for granted when the only variable or the most prominent variable they add to their life is emotions, because avoidants don't know all the time how to perceive these emotions. And so they tend to take it for granted, okay? If you, let's say a person, I don't know, in a country, a made up country, maybe they don't care about the US dollar, okay? And I give them $1,000. They don't know what that is, so they might use it for toilet paper, right? What we saw in like World War II. That happened in Germany. From my recollection, we learned about this in school. I don't know how it is now, but I remember we were taught like in Germany, their currency was so inflate. I don't remember the terminology, okay? I'm not in finance. Basically, the value was so it didn't matter as much, inflated, deflated, something, that they used their bills for toilet paper. That's what I remember. Could be wrong. Anyone who's into history, let me know. But that's the same thing. They took it for granted. However, maybe that bill in another country would be very valuable. This made up country that we're talking about, right? Same thing. If you give somebody who doesn't understand the US dollar, I give them $1,000, they don't know what that is. If you give an avoidant emotions, they don't know what that is. Not that they don't know, but it's not tangible for them at this time. But if you use more structured approaches, it can help. So let's go ahead and summarize what is the main reason that an avoidant takes you for granted, and what does it look like when they miss you. When they take you for granted, it's usually because you just bring emotional variables. If they start to miss you, you will see them start to make subtle initiation or talking about you. Often they're expecting you to reach out, but they will reach out eventually. Now, how to prevent this is maintain interdependence, communicate regularly about things that need adjusting on yourself or them, acknowledge your own mistakes, and ask for acknowledgement about what you do in a tangible way. It can even be more tangible things that you bring them coffee, whatever it is, okay? I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I will see you in the next one.